Hello, welcome to the channel. Let's go to today's story. The day before my birthday, I found out that my wife was cheating on me. I spent the night at a friend's house and then went to our children's and my wife's house. The children know why their mother was excluded from the relationship, but they don't go into details. It was a dreary morning, driving to a cabin with my dog, where I stayed until Monday. On Monday, I returned to the office and started making calls to the bank and other matters. I contacted the lawyer I usually use for my business and he recommended a divorce lawyer. I contacted her and met her on Thursday. She said all the right things and I hired her. I spoke to my human resources manager and told her everything about the situation. She recommended someone to talk to, and I made an appointment. I've seen her twice and she's been a great help. On Friday, a week after D-Day, my wife called and said it was strange staying in her small apartment. Anyway, she wanted to go home, and I obliged. She came back, but things were still difficult. I decided to go to the cabin to have some space as I didn't want to be near her. The weekend was extremely cold, with night temperatures below freezing. On Monday, I went straight to the office, where the people at work were supportive. My lab was a mess, so I stayed late. When I got home, I couldn't even look at my wife and went to watch TV in the basement. She came down and asked us to talk about all this, but I said I wasn't ready and asked her to leave me alone while I was there. On Friday, the human resources manager asked how I was doing, and I told her that my wife was sleeping on the couch or recliner in the basement. She suggested I buy a new bed, which I thought was a great idea. I'll make a delivery choice while I'm sitting. I thought about discarding an old mattress, as some have suggested, but I don't want to deal with the mess. I said I will work and wait. I called the delivery service, which will be here in 30 minutes. I'll order 2 sandwiches from the delivery team and wait for them. I'll go see them for lunch, on me, and I'll give them $25 each if they can do me a favor. Leave the old mattress propped up against the tree next to the street and come back for it at the end of the day. They look confused, but I tell them to give me 5 minutes before they arrive, and they agree. I remove the bedclothes and realize I have to ask a question. I grab a can of orange spray paint that we use to mark properties we're working on and start spraying big letters on the mattress, writing "Wife cheated." The guys move on and leave the mattress against the tree, promising to come back later. They forgot to take it away, so I explained to my wife what I did for Valentine's Day. She tries to be romantic, preparing a nice dinner, but I don't eat it. She tries to initiate intimacy, but I tell her it will never happen, even if she is the last woman on earth. She replies that we are no longer a couple, we make love. I inform her that we haven't made love since she decided to get involved with her boss. I can't describe her expression, but she goes to the kitchen trying not to cry. I think now is the right time and ask her to go to the living room and sit down. I ask her what she wants to do, if we should move on or try to fix this. She tells me she's willing to do anything to make this right and make it up to me, although I'm not sure how she can do that. I tell her she needs to come clean to the rest of the family before we try to fix anything. She agrees. The last time I updated this was 217 days ago. My mother and father passed away 3 years ago. Her parents' sister and Bill came to us that night. We all sat in the living room, me trying to keep my distance from her as much as possible. They started asking what was wrong and if we were okay, as if they knew something was coming. I have to give her credit that she finally cried and had the courage to share the truth, including the fact that I contacted them and marked our mattress after a long period of uncomfortable silence. Someone said something. I express what they should say. "You are a terrible person. You caused me great suffering. Even worse than you can imagine. I rip out my heart, which you threw away in 29 ruined years. Our family, not to mention what they both did. To his own family. Worth it. All this time of pain and betrayal that I kept. Stored inside me? It's spilling now. I didn't know it could be so cruel. Her mother finally says that enough is enough. But she says no, that she deserves it all. She runs up the stairs, crying. The mother gets up to follow her, and her father says, "No, let her alone, she needs to suffer a little before it gets better." We talked a little. They offer support and say that if you need anything, just ask. I say I've been out in the cold and I think I'll be fine. I thank them and say that despite all this, I still love her. She'll need them more than I will. I go to bed and sleep better than before. Since D-Day. The next morning, before leaving, I go to the guest room and realize she hasn't slept. And she spent the whole night crying. For the first time, I think since D-Day, the enormity of what happened. It finally hit her, and her family makes me go after her. Like I did before. It seems like this shook her to her core. I tell her that we need to talk more, that she needs to listen to me. While I explain, I'm 99 years old, inclined to divorce. But I'm still holding on to the small hope that she might do what I asked to get through this. She says she will do anything, just so I don't make a hasty decision. I remind you, a story I told when my father passed away, when I was 17 years old. My father told me that we all face difficult times in life, but how we deal with them defines who we are, regardless of what happens. Never make important decisions when you are emotionally shaken. At that moment, I was like her. I start to cry as I tell. How I wish my father was still here so I could tell him that I was actually listening to. She understands, gets up and hugs me. I don't hug her back, but she's comforting. What scares me is that she sits down again and asks what else she can do. I communicate to her that I am deeply moved at the moment, so I will allow her to think clearly. I decide I'll leave most of the driving to work to her. Then I contact my lawyer to check the possibility of meeting her today. She informs us that she is available as she heads to the office, so we decide to meet for coffee. During our meeting, I share with her what's going on in our relationship, specifically the 99-to-1 issue. I ask her to hand over the divorce documents to begin the process. She suggests that if I have the time and resources, I should help my wife find an apartment and pay the first month's rent as a good faith gesture to facilitate an amicable separation. I agree with the idea, and she offers to show me some options. On Monday, when I get to work, I contact a trusted real estate agent that I have worked with in the past. I explain the situation and what I need. He knows a competent leasing agent and contacts him. The agent informs me that he will begin looking and will return with information shortly. Shortly afterwards, he gets in touch again with a place that meets the price and location criteria. I schedule a meeting with the property manager and issue a check to cover February, March, and the deposit. When I get home, I share with my wife that I found a place for her and have arranged payment. She will need to meet the manager and sign the rental agreement. It's only a 6-month contract, which surprises her due to the speed of the change. I explain that it was necessary to do this without her being home to avoid any disruption to our children. I then mention that I canceled the shared credit cards and withdrew my half of the joint account, as well as canceling the associated debit card. She gets upset about this, but I reassure her, explaining that it was a necessary measure, as I didn't know how much she could spend while taking care of the children and our homes. I also discovered that she took a leave of absence from work due to personal issues, and the company agreed to provide paid leave before the leave began on Friday. I communicate to her that she has the ability to endure anything she desires. I need a new location, please just allow me that. Something, not just nothing. In the basement, there are a couple from my family, heirlooms, and also my new bed. Tell her I'm willing to try and see this. She must find 3 different options, and I will choose the one I believe is the best. I'll leave early in the morning and return to a half-empty house. Including the TV, that's fine, I want it bigger anyway. My friend still has my drink, so I stopped and got my favorite bourbon. I enjoyed enjoying a glass while writing this. I apologize for taking so long, and thank you for reading this far. Tomorrow, I'll go to the gym and make my favorite chili. I'll be getting a new TV, and I'm sure I'll have more to share in the future. My father had to make a choice between me and his new family. He's 52, and I'm 25, along with our Cocker Spaniel Moxie, who's 3. We live in the house that belonged to my mother, which I inherited along with other assets when she passed away when I was 16 due to cancer. My dad married his old high school crush a few months ago while he was on a trip with friends. Apparently, they were in contact for almost 2 years. I was surprised, but that's life, and if he's happy, I'm okay with that. They moved out a week after the quickie wedding that I wasn't even invited to since I had no idea they were dating or that he was involved with anyone. My dad's wife, who we'll call Steph, is 51 and brought with her a large set of 20-year-old adopted twins, Lizzie and Lexi, not their real names, as well as their 2 chihuahuas, Gucci and Hermes. They attend the nearby state college and thought they would save money by living here instead of paying rent. My dad asked if it was okay for him and his new family to live here, since the house is big enough for all of us, with 7 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms, and a basement, as well as a huge backyard with a pool. To please my father, I agreed. However, the first problem arose when my sister argued for moving to a smaller room, as mine is the second largest and closest to all the rooms in the house. She needed this space to store all her luxury bags and clothes. I said no. I communicated to her that this has been my room for as long as I can remember, and she is not forcing me to move, even though it is my home. My father has agreed to give up his side of the closet to her, while her things are in the other room. Secondly, the twins have a habit of barging into people's rooms without knocking, and that includes my office, where I'm currently working from home due to the COVID situation. One time, Lexi came in wearing a bikini, looking for something while I was in the middle of a business meeting. She just passed behind me where everyone could see her. I was irritated and embarrassed. Thirdly, the dogs are not toilet trained and do their business around the house, and the twins don't even clean them up. Furthermore, they are very aggressive towards Moxie. I once found Moxie with a scratch on her left eye, where the other 2 dogs tend to nibble whenever they get the chance. Fourth, all family photos were removed from the house and placed in the attic without my approval, including photos of my grandparents, great-grandparents, my mother, my own family photo and baby photos, among others. It took me some time to restore them all to their proper places. This happened several times. 2 days ago, Steph did it again, but this time she replaced her photos with the twins and their family, among other things. We had a heated discussion about this. I made it clear to her that she cannot make changes to the decorations in my house without my approval, and I also suggested that her daughters should learn to knock on the door and potty train their dogs. She argued that everyone can do whatever they want in her house and that she will set rules for all of us, as she believes that I am very disorganized and was not raised properly due to my mother. I was extremely irritated, to say the least. I got to the point where I told her that she should take her things along with the twins and leave, as she was kicking me out of the house. She retorted, stating that she had no right to expel her. That's when I reminded her that she was living under my roof, that this was my home, inherited from my mother, and that they were, at this point, an invasion. I threatened to call the police if she didn't leave first. My dad came home early the next day and Steph told him what had happened. I also told my side of the story. He mentioned that they are still adapting to the house and that the change was difficult for them. I explained all the problems that had occurred, but he kept insisting that things would get better and that we should give them time. I told him that I have put up with enough and that I can no longer tolerate the situation. He was taking their side, which irritated me even more. So I made it clear that he had to choose between staying with them or me, and he had until the end of the week to decide. I believe I did the right thing by making my father choose between his new family and me. I gave them a chance and endured a lot of trouble over the past few months. What Steph said about my mother was the breaking point for me. I can't allow her to disrespect my mother's memory in the house we grew up in. Update: I forced my father to make a choice between me and his new family. My email is flooded with messages from people wanting to know how I'm coping and what happened to my father, among other things. So this is the latest update. One of my high school classmates is a real estate agent, and I helped her find a nearby residence, about 15 minutes away. After reflecting on my choices, I decided to contribute the initial payment to help them get started, so that I don't feel useless in this assistance, among other things. As far as my father was concerned, we had a prolonged discussion on the matter. He decided to move in with them, but we agreed to meet every Sunday night just as a couple, to celebrate special occasions together. I reiterated to him that I cannot allow him or any member of his new family into our home, especially after his wife's lack of respect towards my mother. I don't have much knowledge about their background, and honestly, I don't want to find out. However, from what I know and remember, my mother was always kind to everyone. She taught me to act the same way, but I know she would be disappointed in me for kicking them out. Even so, he amended his will to include them, although he advised against revealing the events. After watching a lot of crime stories over the past few months, I'm looking out for him. He expressed pride in my choices and the strong person I have become. He believes my mother would also be proud of my achievements to date. After all the tribulations and making sure the house is safe, I took a vacation with my best friend, who is now engaged, to relax and decompress. This whole situation has taken a toll on my mental health, and it's been a battle to get back to my normal mental state and my usual self. We don't plan on getting married anytime soon, as he is focused on his internship in New York, pursuing his medical career to become a pediatrician. For those wondering, he was more than willing to sign a prenup. Furthermore, the mother's side of the family has a solid financial history, with many investments and so on. I could have followed in his footsteps and joined the army, but my hand-eye coordination is very poor, so I chose to work in the financial sector. I try not to depend on my family's money, and I'm learning how to make my own money through investing in stocks, among other things. I recently set aside some money to do some renovations in and around the house. After all, I need to keep it well maintained if I want to pass it on in the future. I believe that's it. My dad and I aren't exactly back to our previous relationship. I don't think we will return to that, but we are being civil about the situation. I've seen Steph and her daughters around town a few times, but I don't recognize them. Why should I, when they took my father away from me? So how do I close my previous thread? I'm not very experienced with Reddit, but I thank everyone for their support and well wishes. It's been difficult these past few months, but I'm managing. I wish you all a happy holiday season, and stay safe and healthy. My 30-year-old boyfriend isn't willing to commit to me, 29, even on small things, probably because he's secretive. I deeply love my boyfriend. We've been together since high school, and when I think about my future, he's always included. However, I'm not sure he feels the same way. Even though we've lived together and shared a home for 16 years, I feel more like a roommate to him since he can't seem to commit. Here are some things he does that make me question whether he is truly committed to me. Even though we live together and share a house, we keep our bank accounts separate. He insists on paying the mortgage himself, using his own account, while I pay some utility bills and buy groceries, almost as if I were paying rent on his house. Rick doesn't allow me to add personal touches to our home. Even though we've lived in it for a while, it looks the same since we moved in, with the exception of the area where his computer is, which he decorated to his liking. Whenever I mention ideas for painting or improving something, he rejects them, saying they're silly or he doesn't like them. I avoid putting pressure on him to avoid arguments. Even though we recently got engaged, he shows no interest in planning the wedding unless it's to express his dislike for something he did. He spends most of his time on his computer when he's not at work and usually leaves right after visiting me. When I mention marriage, he has strong opinions about what it shouldn't be, but doesn't offer any ideas of his own. Rick told a friend's husband that he regrets proposing to me because he thinks I became obsessed with marriage and that he wouldn't have proposed if he had known how I would act. I don't think I'm exaggerating, but this is extremely important to me. I spent more than half my life with him, and I always dreamed of a grand wedding. I'm lost and I don't know what to do. It seems like he's agreed to commit to me in certain ways, but when it comes to concrete actions, he can't. It's difficult to talk to friends about this, as those who know the situation think he only proposed to me to avoid pressure, including mine, on marriage. What do you think? In short, my boyfriend, who is now my fiancé, has no problem agreeing to commit to me, but when it comes to acting, he is reserved, and I feel more like a roommate than a future wife. And so, we finished today's story. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and see you in the next video.